is Movietone, Jeffrey Sumner reporting. Celebrating the arrival of 1959. And now that's over, let's look back at what followed those New Year balloons. Anglo-Russian meeting in Moscow. Setting a fashion, I don't mean the hat, the Premier took the initiative. Frank talks with Khrushchev. Anglo-American meeting in Britain. Visit now followed visit. Ike, of course, got a hearty welcome here. He went to Balmoral to stay with the royal family, remember? Now Camp David in the States, and frank talks between Ike and Khrushchev. Was the Cold War thawing? Mr. K was jovial enough anyway. But Chinese oppression drove the Dalai Lama into exile. Tireless interest in world affairs, even at the age of 84, took Sir Winston Churchill to America. And he displayed tireless energy when later in the year he went tree planting at Churchill College, Cambridge. They gave him a spade and he finished the job. Time was marching on in London. Big Ben, 100 years old and still ticking away. The nation went to the polls in a general election. And in London, the big idea was to go to Trafalgar Square to get the results. They soon saw how it was going. Of course, there's more than one way of getting results in Trafalgar Square. Now take a glance at the Grand National. This great Aintree chase is always one of the most sporting events of the year, and 1959 was no exception. Bet you've forgotten who won. It was the Hatters versus the Foresters in the Cup final at Wembley. Here's a slow-motion record of Notts Forest's second goal. Though one man short through injury for over half the match, they beat Luton 2-1. From Her Majesty to Jack Burkett, the Cup. That's Campbell on Coniston breaking his own record again. Over 260 miles an hour. No wonder there's a hug and a kiss for Donald. Now to Epsom for the derby, and my word, it's pretty bumpy going. Fidalgo on the rails, just being passed by Parthia, who won a great finish. Remember how the sun blazed down all through the summer? Indeed, it was Ascot hat weather all the time. Hot work for the runners, and racing is tremendously exciting, especially when it's a win. Sunshine Parade in London, trooping the colour on Her Majesty's birthday. Over to Sydney, a spot of bother between dock strikers and police, and one of our cameramen was there. Another was at Indianapolis for the 500-mile race. Spine-chilling crack-ups, but no lives lost. Stormy weather for a change at Cap Gris-Nez. For the Channel swim organised by Billy Butlin. Only 15 out of 47 started, 7 finished. Next, a Movietone man gets a close-up of trouble that blew up during the printing strike. Ugly scene. Good picture. City and suburban day at Epsom. Masquerade makes straight for a gap in the fence. What an astonishing crash it was. Oil fire in Kansas City, a bulk service station ablaze, and a terrifying thing to cope with. Firefighters facing the hazard of a tank exploding. And there it goes. Fire again, this time at a circus in Japan. What with one thing and another, you could hardly blame an elephant for losing its head. cameraman kept his, however, hence this picture of panic at the circus. The Yukon, scene of the famous gold rush of '98, was on the program of the Royal Tour of Canada. It was after the visit to Whitehorse that the Queen cancelled some engagements. Later came the announcement of an expected addition to the royal family, and Britain and the Commonwealth rejoiced at the news. Princess Alexandra, making her first tour on her own, won an outstanding personal triumph in Australia. From the bottom of a lake in Austria, they fished out Hitler's phony fivers. Millions of them and not worth tuppence. On the other hand, the Adoration of the Magi by Rubens fetched over £250,000 at Sotheby's auction. There was big news for motorists, the construction of M1, Britain's first motorway. The first section, London to Birmingham, was opened by Mr. Marples. Motorists were soon getting a taste of non-stop high speed, if all went well. Big news for shipping, the construction of the Great St. Lawrence Seaway, leading from the Atlantic to the heart of Canada. The Royal Yacht Britannia steamed through it after the Queen and President Eisenhower had opened it together. Commemorating the first flight across the Channel by Blériot 50 years ago, the Daily Mail race from Marble Arch to the Arc de Triomphe in Paris produced thrill after thrill. Split seconds counted however you travelled. Records were broken only to be broken again. Some people put period before speed, but with a time of just over 40 minutes, Squadron Leader Morn received the first prize from Lord Rothermere. Another method of crossing the Channel was successfully demonstrated by that remarkable British invention, the hovercraft. Space fiction became fact in 1959, notably when a Russian Sputnik flipped round the moon and photographed its other face. And I may say there's been talk of men from outer space landing here to see what we're up to. But don't be scared. We've never had it so good. And here's hoping it's even better in 1960.